I've been making videos all about the South Shore for the past few months, and it's helped me connect with a lot of people like yourself who watch these videos. And after talking to a few of you guys, I'm realizing that a lot of people just want to know a little bit more about my life and understand what it's like living my normal life here on the South Shore. I'm a real estate agent, but I'm also a mom and a wife. Just like most of you, I juggle my responsibilities at home, I juggle my responsibilities at work, while also maintaining a social life for myself. So in this video, I'm going to simply talk about my life. And my hope with this video is that you could get a glimpse of what it's like to live on the South Shore of Boston. Hey, I'm Katie Norton, a realtor in Massachusetts, and this channel is all about helping you know what it's like living on the South Shore. Subscribe if you haven't, and if you're thinking about moving here, please give me a call. I would love to help. Okay, so let's jump into it. And to be honest with you, it was a little bit daunting to think about talking about my regular everyday life. But I'm just gonna keep it simple for you. First and foremost, I am a mom throughout the week. Monday through Friday, my youngest son, who's still in high school, has to make it to school by 8:15 every morning. Just like most moms and working moms out there, I have to back my day up based on what time I have to get the kids to school at. So here's the deal. I have to get him to school by 8:15. It's about a 45-minute drive from my house in Milton to his school, Boston College High School in Dorchester. On any given day, that could bump up to an hour, or it could be, depending on the day, it could be less than 30 minutes. But basically, we have to make sure that we get there by 8:15. So our rule of thumb is to leave the house by 7:15, no matter what. If I want to get a workout in, I need at least 30 more minutes. Backs us up a little bit. It also takes me about 45 minutes to shower, do my hair, and have a quick cup of coffee, makeup and all that stuff, and then pack my bags and get ready for the rest of the day. Because once I drop him off, if I've already done my workout and everything's packed, I usually head right to the office. And by the way, this is the easy part of my life, because about 6 or 7 years ago, I was that mom that had 3 growing boys going to 3 different schools, all using different modes of transportation, all needing different things. To give you an idea of what it was like back then, my oldest son was going to BC High in Dorchester. We were living in Cohasset. It was a much longer drive, a much longer commute, give or take 10 minutes on either side, which would be fine if that was all I had to do. But I also had to get my next son, who was 2 years younger, onto the school bus in order to get him to the middle school at Cohasset. Lucky for me, the Cohasset Middle School started at a different time than the Cohasset Public Elementary School. So once I got my middle son onto the school bus, I would race and get my youngest son ready for elementary school, and then I would usually just drive him because I didn't feel like waiting at the bus stop again. So I would drive him over to his elementary school, and then we would work all day, do a bunch of things, and I would have to do it all over again in the afternoon, making sure each kid got home from their respective schools. Part of what allowed me to pull this off, to have 3 kids in 3 different schools with 3 different modes of transportation, was because I lived in Cohasset, I was able to take advantage of the MBTA, also known as the commuter rail. This is actually a luxury way for a young boy to get to school. Most people wonder, at that age, could you really put your son on a train and let him go off to school by himself? For example, I've spoken to other friends in other parts of the country, and I have a friend in Atlanta who would never think about putting their child on the MARTA transportation down in Atlanta to have them go to school. It just wouldn't happen. But here in New England, and specifically Boston and the South Shore, we have a great transportation system, and it's one of the reasons that so many people are allowed to move further and further away from Boston and get onto the South Shore, because they still can commute to their jobs, they can commute their kids to school, and there's so many different ways to do it. For us, it was the commuter rail from Cohasset to Boston. And basically, we would drop him off at the same time as dozens, and I mean dozens, of other kids just getting off onto the train on this one commuter stop in Cohasset. All the kids were all in uniform, and all the commuter parents or all the commuters were just looking at them and keeping an eye on them, so to speak. And I heard that a lot in our time while I was in Cohasset. The reason I talk all about this different commuting options is because truly, if you want to live in Boston or the South Shore, there are so many different towns and different options for the different states stages of your life. In fact, let's fast forward back to my present. My present life is very different than my life was just 6 or 7 years ago when I had all 3 kids at home. You're probably wondering what my husband was doing this whole time. Well, he was working a full-time job Monday through Friday in New York City. I think I've mentioned this before about him living in New York and me raising the kids in Boston. It was just what we decided to do. It was our personal preference, and we're both very happy we did it. So back to my present day life. My present day life, we live in Milton. And again, the reason we're back in Milton is because all 3 kids were at Boston College High School. It just felt like there was so much driving and so much different commuting time for all their sports and all their activities. And then my husband leaving and going to New York. We just wanted at this stage in our life to be a little bit closer to Boston. So here we are in Milton. My oldest 2 sons are now in college. One of them is at Trinity down in Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut. He's a senior now. And our second son is a junior at Boston College. So both are within driving distance to our home in Milton. And we feel super lucky that we get to see them all the time. In fact, just yesterday, I was able to leave work, go pick up my son at Boston College, drive us both back to Milton where we both voted, and then go have a quick lunch, drop him back at Boston College, and then pick up our youngest Charlie at BC High. He's not old enough to vote yet, but when he is, I'm sure he'll be doing the same thing. So let's get back to my typical morning. And one of the best things about living in New England and living in Boston is just the availability of different ways to exercise. I can do everything from exercise first thing in the morning, right when I get up, before I drive the kids to school, or sometimes I'll drive the kids to school and then I will transition and go do a little quick workout. I'll do something either at one of the gyms that's close to my house. There are so many different options for health and wellness from Boston all the way to the South Shore. So you just have to find what's right for you. For me, now living in Milton, I've joined this gym, which is mostly a female gym. It's called Fitness Unlimited. And the reason I love it is there's different women in different ages and stages of their lives. So I can talk to so many different types of people. I can talk to the mom who's just dropped her kids in the little daycare room, who's going to get interrupted 5 times while she's there for her workout. There are women like me who are going in to do a little bit of socializing before they start their work day. And then there are women who are empty nesters or retired, who this is a huge part of their day to keep themselves healthy and moving and keeping up as they age. One other way that I like to work out, and especially in New England, is I like to go for walks and talks with some of my friends. We can't always meet up and go out to dinner or go out for lunches because everyone's so busy with their different lifestyles. But I love to meet up and go for a long walk and talk. And I feel like I'm doing 3 things at once. I'm working my body, exercising my mind, and I'm filling my soul with my friendships. So those walks and talks are so important. In fact, actually, one of my best friends right now to this day that I go for walks and talks with, our friendship really evolved and became the really close friendship that it is because of the pandemic. We didn't have anywhere to go work out. My kids were being homeschooled. She didn't have any kids. And we just found like we both needed to get out of the house every single day and do something. And so we both live close enough to Castle Island, which is in South Boston. And it's just this beautiful walking area right on the water. So we just felt like there was movement and there was fresh air. Again, it just filled both of our souls. And we are really different people. Our lives are in such different stages. Those walks and talks have kept us so close. And she's someone I talk to every single day. Just get out and do any kind of exercise, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a working mom, or someone who doesn't have any kids or travel for work. It's so important to fit that part of the exercise into your day. And living in Boston or on the South Shore, there's no reason not to. A huge part of my life now is my work as a real estate agent. It's something I love doing every single day. And so it's really easy. As soon as I drop Charlie off at school, my first thought is, what can I do today to either get new clients or provide service for my existing clients or just have conversations with other real estate agents? So basically, I jump on the highway, and from Dorchester, my commute is super easy. It's about 20 minutes, and I go from drop off right to my office at the Park Plaza Hotel in Boston. If you know anything about Boston, the Park Plaza is located right on sort of the corner of the Theater District, the Boston Public Garden, and the Newbury Street and Boylston Street area. So talk about a fantastic location to spend most of my days. I usually arrive, and of course, just like any other job, I want to first say hello to all my coworkers. And a lot of times with real estate, estate, most of our catch up is about the business. Who doesn't want to talk about real estate? So we usually tell each other if we've met anyone new or if we've got anybody looking for something that's just off market or of any interest to anyone else. So a lot of my time here at the office revolves around working with buyers just like you. So for example, I do a lot of research on what buyers are looking for when they're coming and moving to the Boston area. I look at what's going on off market, what's the rhythm of the market, and when's going to be the best time for someone to make a relocation. So if that's someone like you, please don't hesitate to call, because it's something that I just really love doing and I love talking about it. And this could be something that you're thinking about down the road in a few months, or down the road in 6 months, down the road in a year. It's something that I want to start talking about as soon as you're even thinking about it, because as you see from all my different videos, there are so many different things you can consider about moving to Boston in general. And I work with a huge team of people. So if you're thinking about Boston and the South Shore, of course, I'm the expert on that, but I have plenty of teammates who are the experts on the Metro West or the North Shore. So let's talk and let's see what fits you best, and we'll go from there. So one thing about being a real estate agent in Boston is you're on the road a lot. You're not necessarily sitting in your office all day. I definitely love to get out and go visit open houses. I like to go see off-market properties. I like to go see properties that I would never have the opportunity to see if I wasn't a real estate agent. So most of my afternoons are spent jumping in the car and driving all around the Boston area and the South Shore. Listen, if you are not used to Boston traffic, it is something that you're going to have to get used to. The reality is, I've lived here for 50 years. This is not new to me. In fact, it drives me bonkers when my husband will get in the car with me on any given time on the weekend or during the week, and he comes up with these random reasons why the traffic is the traffic. No, the reality is there is always traffic ongoing constantly. Boston North, Boston West, and Boston South. It is how Boston operates. But the reality is also you never feel stuck. You're always moving unless, God forbid, there's an accident or something that's out of the very, very norm. It's a moving cycle. So I jump in the car. I know how long it's going to take me at any given time of the day to get where I need to go. Let's be honest. With GPS and Waze these days, there should be no surprises. If you need to be somewhere at 2 o'clock and you look at noon and you see how far it's going to go, probably at 1 o'clock, that's how long it's going to take as well. So you sort of get into the cycle of timing. If you look at 1 o'clock to see how long it's going to take you to get to the South Shore of Boston, and then you look again at 5 o'clock, you should probably know that you have to add about 20 minutes to that commute. It's just the way life is. Also, one fun thing about COVID is on Mondays and Fridays, the traffic from Boston is just a little bit less. Go figure. I'm guessing all those people are still working remote. And I think that's one of the beauties of working in Boston is there's still a huge number of remote workers who can move further south. They can buy those bigger houses, maybe in the rural areas down in Norwell or Hanover, because those commutes take a little bit longer. But if you're only doing it 3 days a week, what is the big deal? So once I finish up from open houses or my buyer's showings or going to a listing agent presentation, I usually start to wrap my day up, in the mid to late afternoon. So call it 4:30 as an example. Depending on what sports my son is in, I will pick him up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock from school, or in the fall and the spring, he goes and he rows crew out at the Charles River. So I pick him up a little bit later. But the beauty of living on the South Shore of Boston is, as I've said before, there's so many different ways for him to get home from school. So now that he's a freshman in high school, he takes the train home most days. And that is just so much easier for me. I don't have to drive back into Boston if I've already come down to the South Shore for one of my appointments. So he and I just text and communicate during the day about what time he's going to come home and what his mode of transportation is. So once he's communicated what his mode of transportation is and we have a plan, I go, I pick him up, I get him home, we have a quick dinner. Sometimes my husband's home, sometimes he's not. And then both my son and I go on to what we're doing in the evenings. Sometimes I have work events, sometimes I have social events, sometimes I have PTA meetings, and sometimes I have charity things. So while he's doing his homework and getting all that stuff done, I'm usually doing something that has to do with my life. Again, it is a work-life balance, and I'm really trying to be as good at that as anyone can, as I can, especially. So speaking of work-life balance, I have talked about the hustle and bustle of the work part of it, getting the kids to school, my husband's work, my work, and all the things things involved in our daily routine during the Monday through Friday. But let me tell you, in my opinion, the weekends are the best. Especially, again, I go back to New England, Boston, South Shore. Here's the thing. During the fall, my family is really committed to just spending time together as a family. That involves a lot of football games. Both of our sons go to colleges where football is a primary sport. So Jack, our oldest at Trinity, actually plays on the football team. This is his senior year, and just this weekend we're about to go, and fingers crossed he's going to win his third NESCAC championship. If you don't know what NESCAC is, look it up. It's the New England Small College Association Community, something like that. Anyways, there's about 10 schools in it that span all of the New England small colleges, and we've gotten to know so many families. And because we live in Boston, we're able to go to all of the different away games and the home games, if they're within 2 hours of us. So it's been a real fun experience. That's going to be over in just one more week, so I do think that my family will miss that time together. The good news is we are a Boston College family through and through. So my father-in-law went there, my husband went there, and now our son goes there. So here's the thing. We've been going to BC football games from the Doug Flutie era to right now. And again, if you don't know who Doug Flutie is and you're thinking about moving to Boston, please look him up. Anyways, we do go to the Boston College football games. And again, it's just all about camaraderie and being around other like-minded families in the New England area. So tons of fun. Our youngest, as I said, goes to Boston College High School. Although he's not on the football team, again, it's that Friday night lights effect that New England and Boston has on most people. And if you're not doing anything on Friday night, there's no reason to not attend a local football game. All right, so football season is about to end. And so people worry, living in Boston in the winter, how awful is it really? And what I have to say to them is it's not awful at all if you embrace it. And so the way that our family embraces it is we go skiing. We ski a lot during the winter. And the truth is, I actually don't even put on skis while my family is skiing. People find that funny, but it's really just about being together outdoors in this beautiful weather. Like, take advantage of this living so close to the mountains. So when we lived down in Hingham and Cohasset, it may seem like it's a little bit extra of a drive to get through the city and up north on a Friday, but there was nothing like landing up north, whether it was Maine, we would go to Sunday River, which, believe it or not, was about a 4.5-hour ride from our house. In Vermont, we would go up to Woodstock, we go up to Killington, and that's about 2 to 3 hours depending on which part of Vermont you're going to. And then on any given Saturday, if we can't go for the whole weekend, my husband will grab one of the kids and just go for a day trip up to one of the New Hampshire mountains like Loon, Cannon, Gunstock. I mean, there is no shortage of skiing in New England. And if you embrace it, there is nothing like a winter in New England. There's a lot that goes into the packing and staying over somewhere every single weekend, but there is, again, nothing like waking up on a Saturday morning and knowing that your kids or your spouse or your significant other or all your friends are just going to be active all day long. So I highly recommend that. Do not worry if you're a ski family. You can live in Boston or the South Shore and still have an incredible ski experience. One of the things that's come out of our ski experience on the Northeast is, as my kids got older, my husband and them started buying Icon passes. And there's different passes for different mountains. Icon is one of the ones that has the most mountains that we visit. So it made the most sense to buy that. And then what came out of that is every Christmas vacation, we started skiing out west. So about, I would say 8 or 9 years ago, we started choosing a different ski area out west. And we had no knowledge except for what we've heard from friends and family. And we just try to go somewhere that has some kind of an easy enough flight. And guess what? Most anywhere you go out of Boston is going to be an easy enough flight. So we've done Aspen a couple times. We've done Steamboat Springs a couple times. We've done Park City a few times. We've done Deer Valley twice. This year we're going to Jackson Hole for the first time. And last year we did Big Sky. So all of these mountains are easy to get from Boston Logan International Airport, fly right out. We usually do it at Christmas vacation. So we start our ski season out west, and then January, February, and March, we follow it up with a lot of skiing in the Northeast. And if there are any parents of college-age students out there, let me just say, they live close enough and you are a ski family, trust me, they will come home every weekend to come ski with the family. So I mentioned Christmas vacation, and the thing about the Northeast is there really is a rhythm to the vacations. There's a big Christmas vacation for for most schools, whether it's public or private, and it happens at the same time of the year, usually the last 2 weeks between Christmas and New Year's, and either 1 week ahead or 1 week after. From there, a lot of public schools do a February vacation. Now, this can vary from state to state. So New Hampshire might have 1 week, Massachusetts has another, and Vermont has another. So it just really depends on where you're living. But if we're talking about Boston and the surrounding suburbs, you typically have a Christmas vacation or winter vacation, you have a February break, and you have an April break. Now, some of the private schools will combine the February and the April break together and do a 2-week break, but you just have to do a little bit of research and figure that one out depending on whether you're going to go to private school or public school. Public school, which is where we were most of the time, and then our Boston College High School follows a public school vacation. So I was lucky enough to have all of our school vacations land at the same time, and all 3 kids were able to take the same vacations. So that really played in well for us. My husband would schedule his vacations around that. Because we live in Boston, it's really easy to take those vacations anywhere you want. When the kids were little, we spent a lot of February vacations going down south. We would go to the Caribbean, we would go to Mexico, and we would just pick a great resort that was kid-friendly, and that's what we would do. In their April vacation, we usually reserve that to go visit grandparents in Florida, and the kids love that just as much. So we just kind of go out west for skiing, go somewhere in the Caribbean or Mexico, and then go to visit the grandparents. And those were our 3 big vacations, all so easy to do through Boston. As the kids are getting older now, we are starting to do some European vacations. And our son, who's at Boston College, is actually going to study abroad next semester in London from January to June. So I'm guessing our family will spend a lot of time in the London area, surrounding countries, because it's so easy to travel. But again, Boston to Heathrow, 6 hours overnight, easy peasy, and then you can choose what country you go to next from there. So I've told you a little bit about the experience of living in Boston in the winter, but let's talk a little bit about living in Boston in the summer. So common for people, Boston, North Shore, Metro West, and South Shore, to head south for the season. And I know this firsthand because even living in Hingham and Cohasset, we would still go to the Cape every single summer, every single weekend, because we had a family place, and it was just great to have my kids growing up around their cousins and their grandparents. So that was something that our family loved to do all summer. Again, I go back to, is there traffic? I'm not going to lie. There is traffic from Boston going to the Cape. But once you cross over that bridge, either bridge, the Bourne, Sagamore, depending on where you're coming from, there is just this lightness that comes across your body. And it's like you're transported into a completely different place, like what you dreamed summers were like, what we remember summers were like as kids. And so for me, it was really important to load us up and have those experiences in the summer. Now, I have plenty of friends that live in Boston and, like I said, South Shore, Metro West, and North Shore, who also go up north, and they go up to the Lakes region in New Hampshire. It wasn't my experience over the past 20 years. It was my experience as a very young child to go up and visit my grandparents up north in the Lakes region. They had a small cottage on a place called Sawyer Lake. My mom and dad would load us into the car and drive us up north, and we would spend our summer vacations at a week or 2 at this beautiful lake. So that was just a different experience. As I got older, I was more drawn to the Cape and the islands, and my husband and I actually got married on the Cape in 1999 at a place called the Papanesset Inn, which is in New Seabury, which is a very popular place for Boston, South Shore people to go and live for the summer. So we really have such fond memories of the Cape. So as common as it is for families and singles and retirees to head south to the Cape or head north to the lakes, also very common for families to go over to the islands for their summer vacations. When we talk about the islands in New England, we're specifically talking about Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. Some people in Rhode Island go to Block Island, but that's a different island for a different day. A little bit about Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard: you can only get there by boat or by plane. So you cannot drive there no matter what anyone from Boston tells you. There is no bridge to Nantucket or to Martha's Vineyard. If you believe that, means you've definitely been relocated, and hopefully I've helped you find a house and I've educated you on that fact before someone tells you it, and you can laugh about it with them. But anyways, we, having spent so much time on the Cape, we loved Nantucket. It was our first vacation spot that we ever went to. And when we had the opportunity in 2010 to go on a family vacation over to Nantucket, we snapped it up. And we spent 1 week there and realized that for our family, for our specific family's needs, Nantucket was just everything we dreamed about. The next few summers, my husband and I would rent a place, and it just increased and increased week after week. We spent time there and we just couldn't get enough. So by 2015, we were in in the market to buy a house. And by 2016, we spent our first official summer on Nantucket as a family. To this day, I think back and it's just the most wonderful memories. And my kids now this is their 9th summer that they just spent there. They all work at the same restaurant. It's called the Sandbar. So if you're on Nantucket, please stop by the Sandbar restaurant at Jetty's Beach and let them know that you met their mom on YouTube and you wanted to say hi. They will die. But anyways, yeah, so it really just, living in Boston gives you all these different opportunities to provide a lifestyle. Whatever the desired lifestyle it is, you will fall in love with it. And it is very common, as I've mentioned before, for people to leave their suburb house for the summer and go somewhere else very nearby. So if you're thinking about moving to the South Shore of Boston, any of the surrounding suburbs, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to be of help educating you and introducing you to the right people that you would need to meet in order to make this relocation or this move a successful journey. So I hope this video, just simply talking about my life on the South Shore of Boston, was helpful for you. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and I will see you in the next video.